Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Rob's Rig. So, I've got a question. I asked a question, and I got an answer. If you don't off-road in the Jeep Wrangler, will it be trouble-free? Because let's face it, honestly, about 96, even let's just call it 90% of Jeep Wrangler owners never drive them off-road. So if you're avoiding all of that damage and violence of off-roading your Jeep Wrangler, is it going to make it trouble-free or maybe more maintenance-free and in the end, I guess, more reliable and less prone to problems? So let's see what it says here. Interesting. It says no. No. Keeping a Jeep Wrangler strictly on paved roads will not make it entirely trouble-free. While avoiding trails prevents off-road damage, the Wrangler is fundamentally engineered as a rugged utilitarian machine. Many of its most common inherent issues occur during normal highway commuting and daily suburban driving. I'll be damned. I'm surprised. I wouldn't think that to be true. I would think that if you just kept it on the road all the time, you wouldn't have as many problems. But why? Why is it? It says here, on-road inherent issues. Even if your Jeep only touches asphalt, you are highly likely to encounter these platform-specific headaches. Oh, that sucks. The magnet windshield. The Wrangler's upright, near vertical windshield does not deflect stones like an aerodynamic car. Instead, it takes rocks at a direct 90-degree angle. We know this. Data shows Wranglers average 2.3 windshield replacements every 5 years, nearly 6 times the rate of normal SUVs. Now, this makes sense, right? I mean, we have basically, there's a little bit of a lean to it, but basically a straight up and down windshield on the Jeep Wrangler. So obviously, if stones are coming at you, they're not going to deflect off. They're going to slam right into it. And you're going to have problems. You're going to need new windshields, right? Now, interestingly, they started using this Gorilla Glass, right? And personally, I think that's just a gimmick. I've had Gorilla Glass on Jeeps before, and I still had chips and cracks and all that good stuff. Fortunately for me, there were small ones, I will say, that I could fix myself, but nonetheless, it's not like they make it immune, right? And why is it today we can't come up with a windshield that's at least more resistant to chips and cracks? Obviously, if you have a big enough boulder, you're going to have a problem, and hopefully that never happens to anybody. But why have we not been able to engineer a windshield material that, for normal driving and normal little pebbles and things, doesn't cause problems? I don't know. It goes on to say, roof and door water leaks. The removable hard tops and soft tops rely on complex rubber weather stripping. Over time, highway wind vibrations and seasonal temperatures or temperature shifts cause these seals to degrade, leading to water leaking into the footwells during heavy rain or car washes. Well, there's one instance where going through an automated car wash is not good for your vehicle, right? I think this is just inherent to having a Jeep, right? They've got so many removable panels and all that rubber stuff all over the place. Sooner or later, you're going to have a leak if you keep it long enough. I don't know that there's really any way to avoid that. I think that's just part of having a Jeep. Corrosion on door hinges. Now this sucks. The aluminum doors paired with steel hinge pins create a phenomenon known as galvanic corrosion. I've talked about that before. It's basically where two different metals that come into contact react and cause a problem. Even if garage kept, many owners notice bubbling paint around the external door hinges within a few years of ownership. That sucks. I would think if you've got that kind of problem as a manufacturer, why would you not do something to solve it instead of continuing to use metals that you know are going to cause problems? Maybe that's a way to increase sales. I don't know. Next section is maintenance and wear penalties on pavement. The mechanics that make a Wrangler excellent over boulders can actually become high maintenance liabilities on the highway. Solid axle wear. We've talked about axles before. The solid front axle utilizes a complex network of ball joints, tie rods, and a track bar to stay centered. Potholes, speed bumps, and thousands of highway miles can cause these joints to develop play, which triggers the infamous violent front-end vibration known as the death wobble. When your tires do this when you're going down the road, right? It's a horrible thing, horrible thing. If you've never seen it, you'll be amazed at what it looks like, not to mention what it feels like. Frequent alignments and tire rotations. Large, heavy, all-terrain or mud-terrain tires cup and wear unevenly very quickly on smooth pavement. They require strict rotation schedules every 5,000 miles to prevent a noisy, rough ride and premature suspension wear. Get those tires rotated, man. You got to keep up on that. The everyday driving trade-offs. Aside from mechanical problems, driving a Wrangler purely on the street requires living with design traits that most modern SUVs solved decades ago. High wind noise. The boxy aerodynamics mean that at 70 mile an hour, wind noise is exceptionally loud, making long road trips exhausting. I mean, come on, it's a rectangle or a block on wheels, right? Obviously, there's going to be more wind noise. You should never get into a Jeep Wrangler if those kind of things bother you. Vague steering. The heavy-duty steering box lacks the sharp, precise feel of a rack and pinion setup. You will constantly find yourself making small steering corrections to stay centered in your lane on windy days. Again, there's a couple of things I think involved in that. First of all, as I said, it is a box on wheels, right? So if it's a really windy day and you've got crosswinds and maybe you're on a straightaway that just goes on and on, like out in the West or down in Florida or even deep South Texas, it's gonna make you have to constantly correct, right? But another thing I've noticed, and I do think this has gotten better, and that is the way that Jeep rides the cupping in the road. Roads are cupped, and they're done that way for a reason. It's so that when it rains, water naturally runs off so that you don't have hydroplaning issues, right? But Jeeps, in my experience, particularly the two-doors, really tend to ride those cups in the road, right? It feels like you're constantly having to pull back because it wants to be directed over the cup to one side or the other. And some roads are worse than others. You know, the old roads that have maybe worn down a bit or maybe weren't designed with as severe of a cup in it as the more modern roads don't seem to be as bad to me. But I've taken, you know, a few 30, 45 minute whatever rides out to the beach down here, and we've got some freeways that are just straight on out, right? Because you're going to the coast. And I've noticed on those roads that I really have to correct as I'm driving because the Jeep constantly wants to ride on either side of that cup. Anyway, I'm a little surprised at the results of this one. You know, if you don't off-road in the Jeep, will it be trouble-free? And the answer is no. Matter of fact, it almost sounds like it's kind of worse if you don't. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about that. I'd be curious to know. And are you surprised? Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.